Hi! Welcome to VHS Action Rewind!
I'm Cullen and I collect action movies on VHS.
And I'm Caitlyn, and I'm forced to watch those movies.
Alright, okay. Alright, we got that out of the way? We got
the intro out of the way.
We got an intro?
Okay. I want to ask you guys something. I want you to ask yourself. Have you ever wanted to watch Chuckles Norris metaphorically jerk himself off for 2 hours? Well, we got a treat for you because we watched Invasion U.S.A.
Invasion USA!
We're gonna invade the U.S. We're communists. Oh no, there's Chuckles Norris. He's gonna take us down. Just one man. There's a lot of us. There's only one of him. That's gonna be impossible. But he's gonna do it anyway. This piece of work, it is a classic 80s American conservative propaganda film, and boy was it a wild ride. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got mullets, alligator wrestling, a bunch of frogs in a big jar.
Got some live ones.
An armadillo.
It's got
Communists.
boo. It's got bazookas.
It's got Christmas.
It's got a Christmas shopping mall.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? And a mall on Christmas. Makes more sense.
Shopping.
It's got
You're going still. You're gonna keep going.
It's got denim. And so much of it.
So much denim. It's got Chuckles Norris showing off his non-existent muscles.
They're not there. They're nowhere to be found.
That's a confident man acting like he's very strong when you can see that physically he's not.
Yeah, he was struggling with wrestling that gator.
And you can tell when he's wrestling the gator, which we'll get to in a minute. It's one of the first scenes, and you can absolutely tell that he is like going to cause damage. Like he's going to get a hernia or a hemorrhoid or something's going to happen internally, forcing it outward externally because he is trying so hard. He's forcing so many things.
He's forcing things out of his body.
God damn it.
How about a little bit of background on this here movie film?
Yes.
Cool. It was released in 1985 and was produced by the Cannon Film Group, which they make the best movies.
They do. Cannon is known for having the best films, the highest quality films.
So good. So good every time. I guarantee. It stars, as we've said, Chuckles Norris and Robert Lynch, who honestly is doing a pretty good job with what he has as the villain.
Okay, he's a villain. Okay, cool.
It was, funny enough, written by Chuck Norris, the man himself.
You would have never thought that this movie was written as like a narcissistic ode to himself. Never would have guessed in a million years watching this. I hated this movie. If you can't tell, I hated it, okay? I'm gonna be honest. We've shot this twice before. And we have to keep stopping because I keep going on like Alex Jones-esque rants, just screaming and like spit flying because I fucking hated this movie so much. I actually just got on my phone and looked up Sims cheats because I was so miserable watching this. I know everybody's gonna be like, she's a hater, like she hates everything. Yes, I do, but I really, really, really hated this movie. I fucking hate, like, American propaganda. It's so, like, it's just the same scenario of, like, I'm going on a rant again.
Here we are again, baby.
It's just the same scenario over and over again of like, they're coming to invade little old us. What did we do? We've never done anything wrong. We've never bullied anyone. We're just minding our business here in America. But guess what? They picked the wrong ones to mess with, and we're all men. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's just so, like, so egotistical and hypermasculine. I just fucking hated it. While I was watching this, I was like, is Chuck Norris a piece of shit? Then I went on Wikipedia, and yes, he is a piece of shit. Very homophobic. Like, hangs out with, like, Mike Huckabee, the dumbest person of all time. Who, like, I can't even be mad at, because he's so stupid, it's comical. Like, Chuck Norris is just a piece of shit. So if you've ever hated him, like me, then I hope you'll feel validated, if you didn't already know, that he's a huge piece of shit. So, yeah, like, tell us about... How many times am I going to say yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about, like, the, you know, kind of the background, like, when it was made, how the critics viewed this movie.
Well, it has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, and at the time was heavily panned by critics. I think Roger Ebert said that it's so mindless and so joyless that it's not laughable. Like, it's not bad enough to be laughable. And I have to agree. That there's just no space to, like, make fun of it, really.
Yeah, it's taking itself so seriously. I don't know why it's so hard to laugh at. Because there are other bad movies that take themselves seriously.
Yeah. They spend...
Who's they?
Who are they?
Who are they?
Where are they?
What do you want? How'd you get in here?
Chuckles Norris spends so much time just writing in excuses for action to happen that there isn't much dialogue for him or explanation of his backstory or the backstory that they keep hinting at between him and Richard Lynch's character. And if there was more of that, if there was more of an opportunity for Chuck Norris to talk and not just like tough one-liners, I think we would have more of an opportunity to laugh at it. But instead, it's just him saving the day and
trying
killing
to flex
people
his muscles
over and over again. Whereas, like, Steven Seagal, also huge piece of shit, but he also loves to talk. So there's more of an opportunity to make fun of the dumb shit that he says. And I think that's what's missing from this movie.
He's too quiet to make fun of.
Yeah. It's missing some story elements, honestly. And not only
surprisingly.
Yeah. Like, for example, the villains are a mixture of Cubans and Soviet Russians.
Yeah.
But we don't really know that. I only know that because I read the Wikipedia to remember what happened in the movie.
Also, they're coming here for cocaine, and, like, I know they didn't specifically come here for cocaine.
Right.
But the fact that they're like, oh, we found this boat filled with cocaine.
I was also confused by that. So when I looked up Wikipedia to remind myself of what the fuck happened in this movie, apparently what they were doing...
I don't know if you were reminding yourself so much as...
is learning. I was learning new things about the movie.
Which you should have learned from watching the movie.
But it just didn't register. So they steal...
No, the movie just didn't state it clearly.
Right.
It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault.
Listen, I'm trying to help out Mr. Chuck.
Oh, sweet old Chuckles Norris.
You know, he needs the help.
Notorious good guy Chuckles. He made up his own version of martial arts called Chunk.
Chun? It's like Chung Kuk Do or something?
Chung
Kuk Do.
Chunk Undo.
Chuck undo the bad guys.
Chuck undo.
Undoes the bad.
Undoes the bad guys. That is for a fact. Which makes me laugh that, like, you can just tell that he is trying to play, like, this cool, like, I don't say much guy, but he is so obsessed with himself that it's, like, very clearly a sham. Like, he's not, like, this laid-back, cool as a cucumber person. He's obsessed with himself. He started martial arts and then like made up his own version to like culturally appropriate it and be like, no, but this is my thing actually. It just reeks of cultural appropriation, which doesn't surprise me, knowing how much of a piece of shit he is.
Getting back to cocaine.
Yeah.
The villains find cocaine in a boat full of Cuban refugees. And they steal that cocaine, and they apparently, what we were supposed to know from watching the movie is they then take that cocaine into the United States and sell it for guns. So that's how they get their guns, apparently, even though they had guns when they killed all the Cuban refugees to steal the cocaine. So
Yes. Also, why not just bring your own cocaine? Why rely on like, hey, we may come across some Cuban refugees and they gotta have cocaine, or bring your own guns? BYOB.
Yeah, bring your own big guns. All one word.
Big guns.
They mostly have bazookas, so bring your own bazookas. Is what we should have said. Because they literally have like World War II, like riding up on D-Day boats that are filled with like a small army. So why is it an issue to sneak in guns? Just bring guns. So this, as we said, this was written by Chuckles Norris, and he was inspired by an article in Reader's Digest. And I think Caitlyn has a quote of our one-true hero, Mr. Chuckles.
This Reader's Digest article said hundreds of terrorists were running loose in the United States. Chuckles Norris said, I thought, boy, that's scary. What if some guy on the order of a Comini? He's a real Comini. Or a Gaddafi mobilized those guys and started sending them out to every major city. I know it's going to happen. And even in the movie, the head terrorist says, it's so easy because of the freedom of movement in this country. So we're really accessible to this. He definitely meant to say susceptible to this. The movie is not meant to scare people. I don't know about that, Chuckles. But to make us aware of a potential problem, I would just say, like, to maybe, like, help you guys along in life, like a word of, what's it called? A word of advice would be that maybe if you're, like, trying to cite sources to back up your argument, don't cite a quote from a movie you wrote. That's just a thought. That's not fact. It's insane that in Chuckles Norris's like low functioning brain, he truly thinks that this line that he wrote in this movie was like, oh, now that's real. That guy was actually a real terrorist and he actually said those things about our country. Like, what? What? Yeah, he definitely is like, he is trying to scare people with this type of thing. It's the classic fear-mongering that they just like shove patriotism in your face.
It feels like they show this movie before every Trump rally.
Be scared.
Right.
Hey, guess what? Terrorists are going to get you at every turn. And they're probably immigrants. It just is so obviously pandering to people that are so like easily scared because they're from, you know, maybe not the most diverse background and haven't stepped outside of small town U.S.A. This is it just surprises me that it happened. Like, I know that it was very like the Red Scare type situation. Back in the 80s, it was really big to do like anti-communist films and like anti-Soviet films, but I don't know, this is just like on a whole different level of like everyone's our enemy, terrorists are running around in the streets, and you're all gonna die from them, so don't let immigrants in.
So the terrorists sneak into the States and they just start attacking random areas, and everywhere that they attack, except for maybe one or two places that's shown in the film, are like a white neighborhood. They just show up and just start blowing up houses with bazookas. They place a bomb at a church filled with white people.
In my hand, no price I bring.
Luckily, Chuck Norris is there to stop that from happening.
Didn't work, huh? Now it will.
And they try to plant a bomb at a shopping mall on Christmas, and luckily Chuck Norris smashes through glass with his truck and just starts blasting Uzis through a crowd of people. And, you know, look, what a hero!
What a hero!
I'm sure he didn't kill any just random bystanders.
That's actually like something that I know, like from growing up shooting guns, is that whenever you shoot things, the bullets only go to your enemies and the people that you don't like. They actually miss like all the innocent people, the crowd of innocent people that you're shooting around. So yeah, I mean, this was very accurate. You can tell he's like well versed in combat for sure.
What a lot of people don't realize is that when you go to load both of your double Uzis that you have strapped to your body, you first gotta like hold it up and you gotta talk to him. You gotta tell him like, okay, you're going to this guy, and we're gonna kill this guy.
You gotta wake him up first.
And be like,
Sleepyhead,
hey buddy,
wake up.
Hey buddy.
I'm here.
And then you go blasting.
Then you go blasting, and by then, you know...
Chucky go blasting.
Thank you, Blanket.
Chucky go blasting.
So I've got a couple of nerd facts that I can throw at you.
These are facts, and facts don't care about your feelings.
One thing that I think does work about this movie is the practical effects of explosions and car chases. They clearly spent a lot of money on it. It was the biggest budget for a Chuck Norris film at that time was $12 million, and most of it was spent on all those things. The issue is, though, they're just not filmed very well. They don't look very good, even though that they are pretty impressive. One of the things that they were able to do in two instances is in one scene that I had mentioned earlier when the terrorists go to a random white neighborhood and they, as people are decorating for Christmas, they just start shooting bazookas into houses. That was a real neighborhood, and they literally rigged full houses to blow. And they were able to do that because they were about to level a neighborhood and build a new airport. So they were able to actually blow up real houses.
I read that fact as I was rage reading the Wikipedia page.
And they did a similar thing.
Blew up real houses. Great, awesome.
Real houses. Could have been used. They also did the same thing for the mall sequence. That was all a real mall. It wasn't a set. And they actually blew up those sets, or not those sets, a real mall, because they were going to demolish a section of a real mall and build a new one. So all that is pretty impressive. Again, they just didn't film it very well.
Yeah.
Another random nerd fact, old Chuckles Norris wanted the random reporter character that's in the movie, who just kind of like shows up every now and then. It's just kind of like an excuse to have a woman in the movie. And she doesn't really have any agency or does anything other than like come in her pants over Chuckles Norris. Like she's doing it's so embarrassing that he wrote this movie like for himself to be like, look at how cool. I can't ever imagine doing that. Like writing a movie, making myself the hero, and then making men just like fall at their knees over me. It's so bizarre that Chuckles Norris is such a fucking megalomaniac that he did this. But her role there, like I noticed through the whole movie, was for her to be like, you creep. Right. So that was actually all the director's idea.
Oh.
And originally,
I just want to shit on Chuck Norris. Honestly, I'm going to start a second channel just so I can shit talk Chuck Norris, so join me there.
So what Chuck Norris really wanted to do is he wanted to have like a comedic character in that role, and he wanted Whoopi Goldberg, who wasn't Whoopi Goldberg yet. He had met her as she was working as an extra in another one of his movies, and he was like, "She's hilarious. I want her to be in this movie." And the director was like, "No, I think he wanted like a hot character that was like fawning all over Chuck Norris." And then a couple years later, Color Purple happened, and Color Purple, and then Whoopi Goldberg became Whoopi Goldberg. And so they missed out on that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I did actually read that. I know I just shit-talked Chuck Norris so much.
You know everything, I guess.
But I did actually read that, and that is like, you know when someone's so shitty that they just do one little nice thing in their life, and you're like, maybe he's not such a bad guy.
No, he is.
He is, but you're like so depressed and sad about like how shitty a person can be that you're like, well, he did one good thing. I think it's like, they call it maybe like Stockholm Syndrome is what that would be called.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is nice that he did one nice thing in his whole life that was like, he has done other nice things. He's donated. I like read some philanthropy stuff that he's done. I think it's nice because it's representation in a time where like funny women and black women, and especially black funny women, didn't have any representation. So I think it would have been an important move, and like, yeah, you can say like, good on Chuck Norris for having one good thought of like, hey, I don't need this hot girl to fawn all over me. Let's get a funny woman in.
Yeah, good job.
Good job, Chuck.
And the last nerd fact I have is kind of a bummer one, but before I say this, or I'll probably show the clip too, this guy's okay. He's fine.
It is hard to watch the clip.
But there is a scene where the terrorists are trying to break into a security guard like compound where they're holding a bunch of armored vehicles that they can steal, and there's a steel garage door thing that there's a shot where it's set up behind a security guard. You see over his shoulder the steel door. And they were just going to blow it up, and the intention was to blow it up and have it collapse, and then have a bunch of terrorists come in and shoot the stunt guy, who was the security guy sitting there, and have squibs go off on him. Instead, what happened is
what are squibs?
Squibs are like little charges that they put on you that pop blood packs.
Oh, okay.
And that's what does a
very funny name.
Squibs.
Squeebs.
Squeebs. So instead of that happening, they upped the ante on the charges way too high. So when the bombs go off to blow up the steel door, they actually shot debris with such force at the security guard that it knocked him like out of frame. And that's what's in the movie. That's what they use. But I think he broke his arm. He got a pretty deep gash in his forehead. And I think like bruised his ribs or something like that. And I'm
shocked that that's all that happened. When you see the scene, it looks really bad.
Yeah, it looks like someone died.
Yeah.
But he ended up being fine, and then he sued obviously the director and the stunt coordinator and and Canon Films, and pretty sure he won. I don't know what he got, but yeah, he ended up being okay.
Did Canon Films recover from that?
Listen, Canon Films never made a good decision in their whole run as a company, so they didn't recover from anything. It was just like boom, 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 bad, 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 bad. I guess we should do some hot or not.
Let's do hot or not.
Hot or not. Hot or not.
Hot or not.
We'll do Mr. Chuckles. So here's a picture of Chuckles. He's got his double Uzis, he's got his mullet, beard, he's got that denim look with the shirt hanging open. What do you think? What do you think of Mr. Chuckles?
You guys will probably be so shocked to hear not.
Not even with that denim bulge.
No. I don't like Chuckles Norris. There's so many reasons. Not just his shitty personality and his narcissism or his stupid fucking mullet. The reason I don't like Chuckles Norris is because he looks like he should be a ginge. He looks like one of the guys, so I work construction, and he looks like one of the guys I work with where he's like a white dude that never wore sunscreen, and so he's just red now, and like he looks like, no, bud, that's not supposed to happen to you. Like that, you don't look good. He looks like, I don't know, a piece of beef jerky.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like tanned leather. He looks so bad.
Yeah,
like,
he looks like he squeaks.
white guys, wear sunscreen. Please wear sunscreen. You don't look good. You're not tan. You're just red. Stop doing this. Stop doing this. Wear some fucking sunscreen. You're gonna look like a California raisin. At the age of 40, I'm not kidding, I worked with a guy who I was like, damn, I can't believe he's worked like 20 years past retirement. He was a huge asshole, so I around one of the other guys I was working with one day, I was like, when's he gonna retire? And they laughed and they were like, damn, you really want him to retire? And I was like, no, I don't, but I did. That's why I was asking. And they were like, he's only like 42. And I was like, oh, are you fucking kidding? I'm not exaggerating. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And it's because he just like, we were in these like 140 degree greenhouses and he was not, I didn't see him drink a single drop of water the 6 months that I was out there. Fucking crazy. Like he was just, all that he lived on was his anger. And like he was just like burnt to a crisp all the time. Like he was just perma burnt. We don't have to talk about this anymore.
You don't have to hydrate when you're full of that Mountain Dew, baby.
So the villain...
Richard Lynch.
Richard Lynch. Ooh, that's hard to say. Richard Lynch. Richard Lynch. So I looked up some stuff about him because I was trying to do anything other than watch this movie. And I found out that the reason that he has all the burns on his face is he got fucked up in the 70s and lit himself on fucking fire. What was he doing? What kind of drug makes you light your fucking self on fire?
Was it like a thing where he was like freebasing and accidentally caught himself on fire? Or was it like a thing where he was like, I'm so fucked up,
I'm gonna light myself on fire? You're right. He might have like accidentally caught himself on fire. I didn't even think of that. How did you like pull a drug fact out? How did you know more about any sort of drug situation than I did?
I only thought that because that exact scenario happened to Richard Pryor.
Okay, I knew that too. It was just like way back in my brain. So yeah, that was just a crazy fact. But let's see. I love a Russian accent. I do. I know he's not Russian, but like, you know, even a fake Russian accent. All the like fear-mongering, anti-communist, anti-Soviet films, that's going to be like my only source of happiness is Russian accents, baby. I love them. I love just Russian as a language, and I love Russian accents. So I think like somebody could be not attractive at all, and if they have a Russian accent, I'm going to say hot. So I would say hot. Yeah. Yeah,
I agree. And I feel like just as far as Richard, I want to say Richard Kind.
Why?
Because because of the penguin thing, so Richard Kind is on my mind right now.
Who the fuck is Richard Kind?
I'm pulling up a picture of Richard Kind. It's Richard Lynch is this guy's name.
Yeah, we said it like 6,000 times.
Yeah, but I keep thinking of Richard Kind.
Ah, okay.
People say that the penguin makeup looks like Richard Kind.
It does. 100%, yes.
But this guy, Richard Lynch, not Richard Kind.
Yeah. The other Richard.
The other Richard. The other Richard. He, like I said earlier, he's pretty good at it. Like
he's really good.
He's one of the only saving graces of the movie is that, and usually the villains of these movies are, his part's pretty well acted. One
thing I'm going to say is that when I was checking Wikipedia, it said that they were all Cuban communists, including Richard Lynch. And so I was like, oh, he's Cuban? But the movie makes him out to be Russian, and so I was like, was Wikipedia wrong? Or was the movie just confusing? Which the movie is confusing, so it was like a mind fuck that I was like, is he Cuban or is he Soviet? Is that supposed to be a Russian accent? Or is it supposed to be a Cuban accent that he did really bad? I don't understand what's going on. Was he Cuban or was he Russian?
They were apparently a mixture of both.
I know, but what was he supposed to be?
He was supposed to be Russian. His name was like Mikhail Rostov.
You're
or
right.
something
Okay.
like that.
Okay. But they said that he was Cuban. I swear, read the Wikipedia plot.
Okay.
They said he was Cuban.
He could
And
be.
that's that.
He could be.
He could be.
Maybe he has
yeah.
dual citizenship.
You're right. You're right. I always forget about that. Okay. Moving on.
So the last one I have is the female reporter character, played by Melissa Prophet. The reporter's name was Dahlia.
Okay. Good name. Good hair. She's got the 80s shag mullet that I'm really liking right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great haircut. I would say physically hot, of
Yeah.
course, but just her character, the fact that she is getting, like, gushy for Chuckles.
See you around.
Grosses me out. So I'm gonna have to say not.
Yeah, and knowing that it could have been Whoopi Goldberg, what a bummer.
What a bummer.
How
Yeah.
much more fun would this movie be if it was Whoopi Goldberg?
Yes, exactly.
Because she would have had moments where she's like making fun of Chuck Norris to his face.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we give this thing a rating?
Yeah.
I'll have you go first.
Okay.
I know I'm going to be higher than you.
Okay. I'm not gonna give it a 0 because the alligator wrestling scene was very funny because I could tell that he it was a choice to be like, I know exactly what happened on set. He came in there and the alligator wrangler was like, I'm gonna be in the scene helping you, and he was like, let me do it. But he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And so he just aggressively tried to manhandle this alligator for no reason. And so I thought that was really funny because you can see him struggling with this alligator. And then I liked that there was an armadillo because it was really cute. I feel like they made him a fun little pet. And also, which armadillos should not be pets, you guys, okay? If you see a wild one, don't just take it. Unless he's struggling and you are good at wildlife rehabilitation, then do take it, Take him into your home. Raise him, Maybe start a little armadillo commune. I don't know. Anyways, and then also the big jar filled with frogs was very funny.
Got some live ones.
It was a choice, and I don't know why they made it, but they did, and I'm pretty glad that it happened. So that was another. So I'm gonna say 1. That's
Okay.
my rating.
A 1 out of 10 because you enjoyed the swampness.
I love the swampness. Yes, anytime there's a swamp, I'm pretty excited.
Okay, cool. For me, the only stuff I enjoyed were the action sequences, and I feel like even though it wasn't photographed very well, there's still some pretty impressive pyrotechnic work. There's still some pretty impressive stunt work. I mean, there's literally a scene where, like we talked about, a neighborhood gets blown up. The shopping mall scene is pretty iconic. There's a moment at the end where Chuck Norris and Richard Lynch are
Kissing.
They're totally making out. They're sneaking around an office building around corners with bazookas, and they shoot at each other point blank with bazookas. It's there's a guy gets his dick shot off.
Oh, that's true.
There's some crazy shit in here that is worth a watch, but the thing that totally fucks it up is the entire premise. And I think the issue is it's too big. Because there's not a very big army that invades the U.S.
They're even called a guerrilla army.
Yeah, and there's newscasts that get sprinkled in about how there's martial law and people all across the nation are scared and all this stuff, but really what they show is they've really only invaded a small section of Florida, I think. So it doesn't really make much sense of how like grand the idea is. And I think what would have worked better is if you explained at the beginning of the movie the history between Chuck Norris and Richard Lynch, and then Chuck Norris is retired or whatever, and then the story is a small army invading a section of Florida, specifically looking for Chuck Norris. And you can still have all the set pieces that they have, but it can all be centered around Chuck Norris and them not being able to get to Chuck Norris, so they had to get to his family or whatever, which I understand is a little close to Commando, but I think something smaller like that would work much better.
Does it even matter? Every 80s action movie is the same.
It's the same fucking
yeah,
thing.
it doesn't matter if it's a direct replica.
The idea is too big for a one-man army scenario, and if they did something like this, I think it would have worked better if it was like a team-up thing, like an Expendables type thing, where it was like the army tried and it's not going to work, so we're going to have to bring in this team of whoever to go hunt down the leader. And that would make much more sense. But instead, one CIA rep goes to Chuck Norris and says, hey, will you help out? And then Chuck Norris basically single-handedly stops the army that's invading the U.S. And there's a whole plot point where the FBI isn't even aware of Chuck Norris or what he's trying to do. So it would...
And then they arrest him and are like, we're not going to stand for this vigilante justice. And it's like...
He's not, though, because he's working for the CIA. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't connect.
None of it makes sense.
It's Chuck Norris wanting to do that idea that he read in Reader's Digest, but still wanting to be the focus of the movie. And
yeah.
I think it's too big of an idea to have him be the main focus. So having said all that, enjoying the action set pieces, but really the story just didn't work. And like I said earlier, there wasn't enough character stuff for it to be funny. So it just was kind of like I would just kind of look at my phone during the exposition scenes, and then during the action scenes I'd pay attention a little bit.
And then he'd look at me with a sad face because I was reading Sims facts and how to get my Sims to be naked.
Yeah. My memory of this movie was that it was going to be so bad it's good, and that Caitlyn would be like, that was terrible, but I had a good time watching it.
Within like the first 5 minutes I was like...
Oh, I'm fucking pissed.
I was like, I could tell Colin was like, shit, because I hate American propaganda films, which I've realized is going to be my whole experience watching these movies with him, but this one was especially, just knowing who Chuck Norris is, I'm like, ugh, this is just a bunch of like uber patriotic assholes just jerking each other off.
But for me, sometimes I can laugh at that if there's enough stupid shit in there to be laughed at, and I don't think there's enough.
Yeah, you're right with Steven Seagal. Like, Steven Seagal is truly an absolute piece of shit. Like, a bad just a mean person. Like, at least Chuck Norris can maybe, I don't know how he is, to the people he works around, but he seems like maybe he can be nice to people. Steven Seagal is like a fucking monster.
Whenever we do a Seagal movie, we're gonna get into some history of Seagal.
Yes.
Because there's some good stories. Apparently, he like broke down crying because he couldn't get a light bulb to turn on in his trailer once.
And didn't he shit his pants?
He got choked out and shit his pants on the set of Out for Justice.
I want to find whoever made Steven Seagal shit his pants, and I will give them a big smooch. A big smooch. I will. I will.
You heard it here, folks. But as far as my rating, I'm going to give, like I said, because of the action, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. So I feel like if you just YouTube the action scenes...
You're wrong.
There's some stuff to be enjoyed there, but other than that, don't watch the movie. Just watch those iconic set pieces, and the rest of it you can skip. So you gave it a 1, I gave it a 5. What do we think our official score should be?
A 1.
How about a 2.5?
Let's
So
do. We'll do a 3 since you gave it. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 5.
Okay, let's do a 3.
Okay.
Let's meet in the middle.
A 3 out of 10.
Woo! Folks, we gave Invasion USA a 3 out of 10.
A 3 out of 10 what, though? 3 out of 10 bazookas?
3 out of 10 frogs in jars.
3 frogs out of 10 jars.
Jars.
So that's it. Invasion
3 out of
USA.
10 frog jars.
Yeah, there we go. We did it. So I guess we should sign off, and we'll sign off as we always do. by saying thank
You're welcome.
Thank them for being here with us. And
you better
lock
the door when you